Hello everyone. Today's talk is titled Becoming the Bridge of the Cosmos. What that means is, out of all the animals on this planet, man is in a very interesting position. He is self-aware, and this self-awareness is giving him infinite potential. And how far does this infinite potential go? How does our world look like when we are bound to the conditions of our choices? It is very important to see that we were never wrong in how we were directly experiencing life. The wrongness came in when an idea took shape. And so if we are more than shapes because we can observe them, what is this transcendent quality in the vision of man? Who is finding himself here? That is always a question to ask. We come from many places and we are shaped in many ways. But if you as a human being are curious beyond what is presented to you, you are in search of presence. And so presence is beyond personality. And as you move beyond personality, this is where you begin to see that you are the person who is in the illusion and who is going through all this falsity and lack of truth and lack of ability. You are that person, but simultaneously you recognize that vision of limitation is connected to the vision of the limitless, in the sense that once you have confronted your limitation, something happens and you see man was never alone in his existential awareness. He was present among all life. You become the bridge by being here and seeing that your present moment is the bridge for all manifestation, to constantly be reintroduced to itself and at the same time be kept empty. Our moment is very precious and our consciousness seems to be being interpreted by the moment. When I look at different human beings talk about truth, it seems funny to me that only truth it has a certain voice. They are seeking for a certain shape. What is keeping you here? My beloved seeker, the unshaped. This is a question of how authentically and honestly you want to observe your existential intelligence. You want to see what this mechanism is. You want to observe the life form that you are beyond the form that it is given, beyond the chains of its conception. There was a quote I heard by some person, I don't really know who, but he said, walk with purpose. And before that, it's as if I was walking, but when the concept of a purpose came in, I realized man has an intention. And just as you have an instant intention and clarity without confusion to scratch your head when you don't know something, at the same time, your confusion has a solution beyond how it is made. Because when creation looks at creator, they are one and the same. It is all about the individual consciousness moving to a collective consciousness. What that means is you who are just walking the park have been associating your whole life with a sense of separation. There have been other people around you doing other stuff, doing other activities. There are other moments, there are other things. And do you see the sense of other has stood too long, perhaps, with the reality of man? Because it is not allowing the individual to naturally and gracefully evolve. If you were to ask yourself, what reason is it for a species to suddenly burden itself with its own pain? And you begin to see it's unnecessary. We are not suffering. We are misinterpreting. We are not dying. We are misinterpreting. We're not there. We are misinterpreting. And where do all the drops who seek the great rivers of life lead to? Where do they see themselves? themselves going to an ocean of existential compassion in which all vision is present because you are present and you are not touching anything. You are no longer thinking, you're present in the silence of abstraction, and there is a freedom. That would very peacefully guide you. We must see what a purpose of a bridge is. And a bridge is connecting two different localities, two different places. Once you see that Golden Gate Bridge, you see a great structure of man being built in which two different places in this connection are being connected. A bridge is the awareness to the connector, and that connection is your bridge of awareness. You must see that the bridge is the self-awareness to how all your ideas are happening right here. Sometimes our confusion comes from not knowing things, and sometimes our confusion comes from not looking at things good enough. And that good enough is up to you. You suggest the goodness in your life. And you also suggest how much you want to interpret life. Do you know how much cheaper it is to just go in nature, sit down, be still, do some gentle breathing, and in a very present manner observe your being in deep self-contemplation? You begin to see that that is much cheaper than buying 1,000 self-help books and asking 1,000 people for this picture you're trying to make in your mind that you do not trust because you haven't experienced, and it's just a collection of beliefs. Man must trust life and explore life. And in that exploration, sometimes it's a dynamic state of being. Suddenly you see your consciousness shift. Those kids in class who are going into daydreams, that is actually a higher state of consciousness. But our schools are saying, oh no, don't go to sleep. That kid is silencing his body and paying attention more to his subtler abstract realms. A kid who's daydreaming in my mind is suddenly very learning a valuable lesson. He's actually listening to the teacher better than everyone else. Because he realizes that the teacher is there to inspire, and once he does, the child must go into his own constructs and subtler considerations of reality and playfully develop it. You must playfully build your interpretation of this life, and very mindfully, because if you don't, sometimes you get other people's interpretation and you will be affected by conditioning. Sometimes your conditioning can fade in an instant by you suddenly realizing that you're in the wrong seat. Conditioning can be a very simple detachment where in one sense of your vision and your consciousness changing, you being aware of your state of being, suddenly shifts your perception of the wrong that you were. Visualize the time you were guilty and visualize how right now you don't even remember why you were guilty then. And that guilt was a manifestation of the moment because the being could not be aware of the agitation self-induced by a lack of mindfulness. I recommend that when you look at the human being, you wonder what state of being is really efficient for this human being. You know, some people are trying to go to happiness, but then suddenly their happiness becomes very greedy, and they don't become enough happy, you know. And suddenly you see some people are, they're not happy at all, and they're the opposite, you know, and there's wars and whatnot. So what is the efficient state of the human being for man? Well, there's many things that one can say, and we can start from many places, but in just observing one man's life, the Buddha, just realized the Buddha has this quote where he says, in a sense, he's suggesting, of course, that walk in a way where it's as if like you have a flower in your hand. Be that gentle in your approach to life. Be that mindful. Be that aware. And so it's very profound imagery in the sense that it's suggesting that regardless of where you're sitting, whether it's beside a tree or on the you are the choice that is to be made. A certain gentleness is required, and think of it this way, that the most efficient state of man is where man is at his full self-awareness and externality is being handled by his trust in natural life intelligence. And as that's being done, thoughts can be used in more subtler ways and in more fascinating ways, in the way that you are becoming aware of your creativity, being in a flow where you are not introducing structure to it, it is introducing structure to you. When you let life do the thinking, you come up with great ideas. Be calm, be gentle. Observe the self, be aware of other, and realize that other must be your existential responsibility, or it's better not to even consider another person. You know, when you have an ability to consider the other person, when you can completely be empty in your suggestion or opinion and simply see what they are and receive immediately from their origination of who they are. And that's when you're acknowledging other, because you care not for their form or body, but for their experience. What that means is many people very I don't want to say arrogantly, but very without mindfulness, just say that they're a soul, they're a spirit, and you know, they've had one moment where they was nice, you know. But we must really question if we want to look in form. So what that means is, I consider a spiritual man more a person when he looks at other, he sees the greatness of self. And a person who's not spiritual looks at other and he doesn't see the greatness of self, he sees just another. And so he's disconnected. He is not even allowing himself to hear the cries of this man's life. Many people don't recognize, but I've seen many people walk up to me and ask for change. And every time I give change every time, because I wonder what in life has brought this manifestation to me. And as I look at it, I, from a very clear empty moment, begin to see this guy's hands, the way he is, his mind, as if the way he's been maintaining himself, his image. They say an image is better than 1,000 words, something like that. Well, that's true. You are mindful to imagery, you begin to receive the history from the present moment. And cataclysms will occur for consciousness in its self-remembrance. Humanity must realize its efficiency is found in its self-awareness. Stop considering yourself as an individual and think of yourself as humankind, as your greater association, and keep developing your greater associations by very directly attending them. It seems in this culture, in this society we have, people are not having their priorities straight. What that means is, you know, even the religious man, he's like, I gotta go to work tomorrow, but all right, let me see if I could get a prayer. And, you know, it shouldn't be that way. You must bring the fullness, your biggest absolute truth, into your direct experience. Not try to take your direct experience to there. That is elusive. Everything is accessible now because now you exist with all existence. The intelligence does not need to be separated if you are not. And your experience can be in this life never being separated, but being thought and externalized as separation, because an internality is being considered. Because the moment there is the view that we have an external view and an internal view, which one came first? And so the most deepest pillar of man's existence is shaking right now. This is the question where it takes all sciences to philosophy, because our direct experience seems to be void in some manner. To be only conscious and having an unconscious. And so man must find his real eyes, to then realize that the emptiness found in selflessness, to put away your ideology and observe your moment directly, you will then see that there is no such thing as enlightenment, there is no other concept, there is no other philosophy, there is direct experience of what is happening now. What that means is the advanced communicator never needs history. He is the history. He is the present. And man shall see, becoming the bridge to the cosmos was always that moment where he saw the bridge that he was, the bridge of consciousness, the bridge of self-awareness, the bridge of abstraction, the bridge of worlds of this intensity. It seems that man is finding a world getting close to extinction because he's not seeing the resources on this plane of existence. Some of these resources are subtle. They are your awareness to natural energy. They're your awareness to how the mountain is a part of you and how the winds were always your direction. You are part of the road guiding many generations home. And you will see that the greatest thing that you can do in this lifetime is to very clearly perceive and to give out your most natural, authentic, existential intelligence. So you're being complete awareness of your expression and your presence, and you're looking at the fullness of your experience. And the fullness of your experience does not mean taking an objective relationship and trying to see something out of it. It means looking at all there is in the moment that we are, and then our dissolution is our absolute. Man is lost to be found to be the truth. Much blessings and namaste.